Some cream, some honey. It's a good way to do it. All right. This past weekend, Cooper and I went on a trip down to Orlando. So I talked about it in our last video, but Cooper and I went down to Orlando. It was his first time flying, as well as his kind of a solo trip, which was a lot of fun. It was interesting. Him being the middle boy, him learning to be the only child was a little bit interesting. But we had a lot of fun. Got to go bass fishing. That was really cool, as well as went to Level 99, a place in Disney Springs, and then went out to eat and just hung out, was dudes, and had some good conversations. Got to have the talk. So that was fun and interesting. He was not a fan of having the talk, but we had it. So there, he will forever and always remember the talk that we had. So here are kind of 5 takeaways that I've got from that trip with Cooper. I had a lot of time to think. We had some delays in our flying, and had some time to think and observe him and have some conversations and just spend some time together. So here's my 5 takeaways. First one was make the sacrifice. Making the sacrifice it's not convenient. It wasn't something that's going to make any money. If we're losing money doing it, it is something that you really have to put forth the time and effort to get done. And making the sacrifice to do it, it's going to be so worth it. But in the moment, it can be inconvenient. And so you really have to make the sacrifice to be there for your kids and do these things. It's not something, I'm committing. I'm going to be doing it again for Sully whenever he turns 13. And then Caitlin's going to do the girls, take them on their trips. So it's not something that is easy or convenient, but it's something that you really have to make the sacrifice to do. Next one is stay present. So Cooper doesn't have a cell phone, and so we would be in the airport, and what do you do whenever you're waiting is you pull out your phone and you'd be, looking at random things, some articles, or checking my email or whatever. And he didn't have a cell phone, and I wasn't like shoving a tablet at him. And we watched some movies together while we waited, but I realized how often you can just default to being on your cell phone, and you have to stay present in those conversations. Even coming back, I had planned on having the talk with Cooper, and it just hadn't quite worked out. And we were literally driving back from getting off the MARTA from the airport. We had like an hour 15 left, and he had been watching one of the Avenger movies, and he wanted to watch the rest of it. I was like, yeah, you can grab my laptop. And literally him like reaching back into the back seat, I was like, I can't. I need to capitalize on this. Like, I need to be present. I can't just, use the excuse of, he was just watching a movie. So I said, no, put the laptop up. We need to talk. And so I think he would have rather watched the movie, but I know it was super important for us to be able to have that conversation together. And the only way for me to do that conversation was to stay present and not just give in to the convenience. Next one was be flexible. So I had planned for us to go, and I gave him 2 choices. I was like, we can eat at T-Rex Cafe or restaurant or whatever. It's like a big T-Rex place. He loves animals. Or Rainforest Cafe. And in my mind, I'm like, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a cool environment. It's going to be an awesome thing for him to look back on. He'll be like, oh man, you remember that place that we went and ate? And kind of through the night, me and him had, we'd had some conversations, and it just wasn't going super well. And he was getting really tired, and I was really kind of making it happen. And I realized that if I need to pay attention. And so finally I was like, what do you want to do? We'd been waiting for 40 minutes for Rainforest Cafe, and we were probably about to get our number called. And he was like, I'm just ready to go back to the hotel. So went and found a chicken sandwich place, not Chick-fil-A. It was Chicken Guy. and went and grabbed that, took it to go, took it back to the hotel, and just crashed. And I don't know, it was like, part of me was like, oh, we're going to miss out on this cool thing. At the end of the day, it's being flexible and being willing to say, you know what, it doesn't matter if it's not living up to my expectations. It's like, I've got to kind of read my kid and understand it's okay if we don't go to where I want to go. I want him to have a good time, and I'm going to let him kind of lead in that. And so being flexible is super important, I think, in being on a trip, but also just being with your kids and not forcing something to happen. The fourth one is don't be so serious. I have a struggle with this at times of being a little too serious at times and wanting to be either the cool dad or the got it together dad or any of those things. We're on the boat fishing and we are bass fishing. And so it's a small boat, and Cooper he hasn't been on a boat a whole lot. I'm not on boats often. And so he's fishing and he gets a bass on. And so he's got a bass on, we're, me and the guide that took us out fishing, we're coaching him like, keep the rod up. You got to keep reeling tight. And he, I guess, decided to move across the boat. Well, in doing so, it's kind of got the dip where the seats are, and he just fell. Well, in doing so, he dropped the rod, which was not our fishing rod. It was the guide's fishing rod. And so I see this, and it's got a fish on it. So this thing's like taken off down in the water, and I just reach over and I try to reach for it, and I slip and I fall in the water. And in doing so, me falling in the water, I had my rod, which also fell in the water. And so I'm soaking wet. This is towards the end of our fishing trip, and I'm soaking wet, getting dragged out of the boat, by the guide, trying to get me to, get back in the boat. And I could tell a little bit on his face of like, is dad going to be mad at this, or is he going to be good with this? And I knew in the water, it was like literally this like moment of like, I can choose to be irritated that I fell in the water and he dropped his rod and all of that stuff, or I can laugh and just roll with it. And I mean, there's a lot of me, like my flesh is like, dummy, why'd you do that? But I'm like, I've done the same thing. And I don't know, I can't take myself too serious. I have to be okay with going with the flow and just letting things happen. And it's okay if I fall in the water. It's funny. It was a good memory. I mean, he's talked about him catching a 5-pound bass and dad falling in the water. And so I was part of the fun story that he'll get to always say on this trip. And then the final thing, it's a quote that I've heard for a long time, and Caitlin has said it a couple times to me, and it's a quote by Andy Stanley, and the quote is, only do what only you can do. And realizing that, I got a couple of work calls because we were gone we left on a Thursday evening. We were there for Friday. And so, Friday, not everybody pays attention to whether or not I was off, and they didn't see it on the calendar. And I could take the phone calls, and it's not a big deal. Cooper's not going to be mad at me or whatever. But I realized that I have to do only the things that I can do. I need to be dad to Cooper, and I can't. Somebody else will do my job at the end of the day. Somebody else will do these other things. No one else is going to be the dad to your kids. And I need to be that when I have the opportunity to be that. And so, I don't know, just through the whole trip, I was very thankful for being able to have the opportunity to do this. But I don't know, all of these things kind of staying in front and center, and me focusing on being a dad. I'm going to be an imperfect dad. I'm not going to have, everything's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to keep my cool all the time. I'm not going to be, be able to perfectly read, him or any of my kids, to where you have to be okay with, I'm doing all that I can, but I'm going to do what only I can do, which is be dead. And I don't know. That's a kind of my 5 big takeaways from the trip with Cooper, and really something I just want to catalog for myself that I can look back on and remember. Here's a picture of a fish for you. Thanks. See you.